Hi there! According to my YouTube channel, it has been approximately 4 years since I last uploaded a video. So I figured it would be about time to start updating you guys about what I've been working on. This speed paint is page 3 of my webcomic, Coming to the Lavender. I have been working on this comic since 2015, and it is a monster romance webcomic about Aaron, who is a recent college graduate who is rescued from becoming a human sacrifice by a very tall and sexy 8-foot-tall giant bug woman named Miffany. You pronounce that name like Tiffany, but with an M. And here I am sketching the main villain, Douche Nugget. Oops, probably shouldn't have called him that because YouTube won't like that. But then again, I'm not making any money on this, so I don't have to worry about the dangers of being demonetized. You have no power over me, YouTube. This has been a long time coming. So what's going on is I decided that, since I'd been working on the comic off and on without any really consistent schedule, that, it would be jarring for new readers to start reading the comic looking at art from 2015 where everything was in Copic markers, and then, 50 pages later, everything's in digital. There is a lot of inconsistencies with the current comic, which is still up on Webtoons. And I'll be providing a link in the description with the original comic, because even though it's very inconsistent, I am still really proud of this, and I still really love this story. But there's just a lot of inconsistencies with the shading and the medium and even the text. And there are some pages still hold up 5 years later, but some pages, I also really love webcomics, like Muted and Lore Olympus, but especially Muted. I take a lot of inspiration artistically from Muted in terms of the backgrounds and the line art, and I just think that Miranda Munt and her wife are incredibly talented, and I really love that comic. And I want to have something that I can be that proud of. So I just decided that even though it's going to take a lot of time and effort, I would rather just, start over and try to be more consistent. Another reason why I'm starting from scratch on the webcomic is because as as all 19 watchers of this channel know, I am not very good at being consistent with my updates. And obviously, something like Muted, where, they're being paid and have a budget, it's a lot easier when you can just make it your full-time or close to your full-time job, whereas, I still gotta get that bread. But I still want to at least try to make a buffer and try to be a little bit more consistent in hopes of, maybe getting a little more attention to the comic if, I can shove it in people's faces a lot more often. Actually, that's a big reason why I decided to make my very first speed paint. Well, speed paint, the free version of Windows Movie Maker does not let me speed up the footage, but that's beside the point. Again, bringing it back to Muted because I just kind of hold it up as the gold standard for webtoons, webcomics. I had never heard of webtoons, never heard of Muted or Miranda Munt until I saw this amazing animatic that she had done for her webcomic. And another, different tone. It's more of a comedy one, but they both star witches. Lavender Town's Tapastic webtoon, Unfamiliar. I had never heard of Tapastic, had never heard of that webcomic, but I loved her YouTube channel, and she did a lot of Unfamiliar related speed paints. And that's how I found out about it. And I also noticed that, like the other day, there was this person on Instagram that, had just been randomly generated, and I noticed that they got a lot more views on the speed paints of their illustrations than their actual illustrations. So, this is all a part of my evil plan of seeing if posting speed paints of my comic pages gets a little bit more attention than the actual comic pages. Who knows, maybe they're just doing something else that I don't know, but I'm just trying everything because I am an opportunistic little weasel. So, yeah. Just a heads up, I'm probably going to split this video into at least 3 different videos because while this first recording is like about 15 minutes long, the other 2 are 30 minutes each. So rather than info dump a giant speed paint on you guys, I figured it might be a little craftier to split it up into 3 parts, and then that would be 3 separate days that I can upload stuff on. Again, I don't know if any of this is going to work how I think, but, we will give it a try and see what happens. And, I'm a little nervous because I've never done a speed paint before. And, I am still kind of in the afterglow of being able to beat Windows Movie Maker and my recording software into submission. I've never really used them before, so I'm really excited about being able to use this to show off more of my creative projects. And probably what's going to happen is this first video is just going to be about the, the whole reintroducing myself to you guys, because the last art that I posted on here was, I was drawing in colored pencil on a lined notebook. And while I'm less embarrassed than certain other artists are of that old artwork, it's still, a little jarring to go from colored pencils to digital art. Hang on, my mom is working from home, so I'm going to close the door real quick. So, probably in the next page I will, in the next part of the speed paint, so to say, I will go into a little more detail about the actual comic. This scene that I am, this panel that I'm working on here, Aaron, our main character, is being brought into this hospital, not to deal with the concussion that DN, that's the guy in the hat, and his friends have inflicted upon him, but for them to torture him because they are very helpful and productive that way. DN is just saying hi to the nurse on duty tonight because they're just all cool with it, he's got a job. He loves his job. he will be unemployed soon, but, he doesn't know that, so shh, no one tell him. Also, because I have his reference sheets, I don't know if you've been paying attention, you might be a little confused as to why Deanne seems to be missing his eye patch and be crying that I'm drawing him off model. He just hasn't lost his eye yet. But again, I'm kind of playing fast and loose on spoilers because, this is a comic that is 5 years old, and I'm not going to be making a ton of changes to, the plot proper. It's mostly, this reboot is mostly about me trying to polish the way that we get to the certain story beats. Just because, going back, looking at the old comic pages versus these new ones, there is just a lot of instances where I think, I could have used that as an opportunity to foreshadow this, or, that could have been stronger, or I could have introduced this a lot earlier. Things like that. And I have no idea if this is going to make any sort of sense because, I'm just kind of diving right in, not really going over the old comic very much or even showing you any visual samples, but, I'll have a link to my link tree in the description, and you'll be able to see what I mean when you look at the old comic. It is going to be rebooted sometime next year. I don't have an exact date yet because I am still working on a buffer. That was actually another cool thing about starting these speed paints is I'd been kind of procrastinating on working on this page because it's just a lot of work working on a webtoon page where, instead of the 5 panels that I'd usually have on the old ones, when I was just doing it in an 8.5 by 11 format, now there's I average 25 panels per page. And also, while Coming to the Lavender is relatively light in tone, page 3, I would say, is the darkest page of the comic because we're dealing with torture and both emotionally and physically, and Aaron's not having a good time. These guys are not taking Aaron's feelings into consideration. And there's a disturbing lack of giant sexy bug monster women, which, I personally find that egregious. Thankfully, this, the early part of the comic, you only have to deal with a lack of sexy bug monster women, in the early parts of the comic. And coming to the, page 3 is actually the last one where there is a disturbing lack of sexy bug women. But yeah, it is definitely, for me personally, it has been the hardest page to get through. And so the fact that I could do this speed paint and kind of reintroduce you guys to myself and what I've been working on, it was kind of a way for you guys, all 19 of you, to make me an honest woman and actually work on this webcomic that, I keep saying I want to work on and have done. And I'm also doing this voiceover because my recording software, I didn't know this, but apparently if I have videos on in the background, it will record that, even if you have the mic muted. So I was drawing this very serious scene of, you know, poor unconscious Aaron being dragged into this torture chamber while, you know, Luigi's Ballad is playing very boisterously, and, you know, just Danny and Harold, the Gum Gramps, making raunchy sex jokes. You know, also that's kind of a thing with me. I am a bit of a raunchy person. I'm going to try to turn it down because we're on YouTube and they don't seem to appreciate that. I don't know why I am trying to appease the YouTube gods, because they don't give me any money, so they have no power over me, but, you know, I figure. Anyway, so that's the end of this part, so we're going to stop right there, and I'll see you in the next part. Bye.